How do you do Nepenthes cuttings? Maybe your Nepenthes start to vine, it's getting really tall, and you want to cut it to multiply, to duplicate it, and sell it or trade it. But how do you make sure your cuttings will survive? What are the best practice? There is plenty of information on internet, a few methods. I will show you all the one I used, and I will show you the results. Hi, my name is Remy and I love Nepenthes. To make your life easier, because there is a lot of content here, I will break down this video in few parts. What happened, before you start, what you should do. Then we have the 4 methods. The water, the Ziplock bag, the sphagnum plus rooting gel, sphagnum plus rooting paste, and finally the air laying that is not really known or used, but that could be very powerful if you want to do a cutting without risking losing the plants actually. Because some cuttings will take, some won't. Oh, and finally, the results I had using all those methods. So 4 months ago, in August, I had those plants outside. They were okay, but I discovered that this one was damaged, here. Then I checked the other one. Everything was okay on the ground, but then on the new growth, again, something ate it. And I know exactly what does that. You may think that squirrels are nice, but in fact. So I decided to do a cutting video. So I will chop this long vine into a few parts and we will test the different methods. So the first thing is to cut the vine, obviously, and then you cut all the pictures. You don't want any pictures here. And before cutting, don't use something dirty like this one. You see here, totally not clean. So you will want to clean it first and then sterilize it. You can do it with alcohol or a flame. So to take a cutting, you want to cut in an angle, not like that, on an angle. You will have more surface to grow roots. And if you clean the scissor you will use, you better also clean the leaves, because this thing was outside and is totally messy and not clean. And you will cut also the tendril. You will have to cut between the leaves, between the nodes. So sometimes they're really tight, but do your best and that's it. And don't throw away every woody part. It can still work. So maximize your chance. Try to root all the cuttings you can. Put your cuttings into water until you're ready to process them. So now let's start. I will show you what I cut. That's a good cutting. There is 2 leaves, but the one on the bottom, I will make it shorter. See, 2 leaves, so 2 nodes that could activate, but the bottom one will be shorter, just because I will probably put that into the substrate and I don't want this part to die and to mold, etc. So doing a Nepenthes cutting into water. So that's a no-brainer. Put them in the water, clean water, reverse osmosis, ideally. And then as soon as the water will go wrong, grow algae, change it. And that's all you need to do. Manage the algae and that's it. Doing a Nepenthes cutting in a Ziplock bag. So nothing really complex here. You want 2 Ziplock bags. You want to name what you're cutting, because they won't picture fast and you will forget, especially when you have a few species that you do cuttings. And even if it's slightly woody like that, that will still work. So I will take the smallest one. As you see, that's an inch and a half. I don't take big cuttings. The big cuttings are more for the substrate sphagnum. But for this kind of method, smaller would work. as long as you maintain them into water. You don't want to have the stem to dry out because that's outside the water. So now they are inside the water. Most of the plant is outside, obviously, but the stem is always in water, and the humidity inside this Ziplock bag will be very high. So doing Nepenthes cuttings inside sphagnum moss. For this one, you will need a longer cuttings because a part of these cuttings will be buried into sphagnum moss. Squeeze all the water out of the sphagnum moss as you can because you will water it after. So just stick those inside the sphagnum moss. Leave some space in between, and I would say 3-4 per pot. Make more pots just because if one of them mold, you don't want that to spread across all your cuttings. And again, don't throw away all the woody parts because a friend of mine decided to try to root this woody stem, and look at that, how beautiful it is. Doing Nepenthes cuttings with rooting gel. So I will take the black pot and use this homemade, the other way, rooting gel, homemade rooting gel. So I'm not really sure how to use that, but let's try. Okay. So I will just literally put that inside the sphagnum moss and see if it takes or not. And we will see if there is a difference, a big difference or no difference compared to the regular way. Doing Nepenthes cutting into sphagnum moss with rooting paste. So for this one, I will take the white pot just to make sure I don't mix all the results. So again, homemade rooting paste. And it's really thick. That's pretty strange. I'm not sure the plant will really be able to grow roots with that. So maybe I will try to spread it better. And after that, just stick that into sphagnum moss and we will see. Doing Nepenthes cuttings using air layering method. This method is totally different because you won't cut the stem. You will cut outside of the stem, but keep the pulp, and then you will just try to root it. And if the roots grow in the sphagnum moss, then you will be able to cut this part and directly put that in a pot. It will be already rooted before you cut the stem. I will try that on my Nepenthes gymnanthora. It has a basal shoot, and I don't need to keep the vine because I'm not planning to get pollen or flower out of it. So I will try here, and I will try around here, or maybe here. So I've cut a big part, a big chunk of it, and we will see if it's enough, And on the second one, I tried a different way to cut it, so hopefully one or two will work. So I covered that into sphagnum moss, water-loaded sphagnum moss, and we will see. So now the recap. Here is the pure water. Then we have the Ziplock bag. Then we have the rooted cuttings inside sphagnum moss. And as you see, I covered this with the plastic, so it keep the humidity high. Really like the Ziplock bag. And now we wait 4 months and we will see. So technically it's been almost 4 months, so let's see in water how they react. Okay, so I already see a root or two even. Look at that. And there is one activated node here and another one on the top. And this is the second water glass that is already activating. Oh, I will show you when you need to change the water. When the water is like that, that's what you need to change. I already see two roots on the side, but the water is clearly not good. You need to throw that away and put some clear, fresh water. So sometimes you won't have any roots, but don't throw that away because look at that. It activated a node on a woody stem and no roots. The roots will come later, I guess, when the leaves are providing enough energy. So rooting into a glass of water is efficient. That's working pretty good, actually. So that's a good way to root your cuttings. So now let's see the Ziplock bag technique. I can already see some roots, some good roots, actually. Okay, let's have a better look. Look at this root system. It's already spreading in all directions. The roots are really healthy. 2 activated node, 3 even. So very, very, very powerful. That's the Gaia. So this other Nepenthes Gaia, activated a node, but there is only one root. In the other Ziplock bag, it was Nepenthes ventrata. Only one had a root, but if you check, all of them activated nodes. So in regular sphagnum moss, it's working. It's slower, but it's working. I had so many cuttings to do, I had to do another pot because it was too much for one single pot. And compared to the other techniques, they don't take all. Some vine, like this one, didn't make it. So it's totally dried now. Nothing you can do, really. Some cuttings won't take. For the one in the gel, rooting gel, they are alive, but not really growing. They are not dying, but again, super slow. And for the paste, it's kind of the same. They are not great. Some are alive, but some won't make it. On those one, you see that the paste did not dissolve and the gel neither. That's why I'm not sure there is an interest, there is something valuable to spend your money buying gel or paste. Just use regular sphagnum moss and that's it. For the air layering, it totally failed. I tried again a few times with dead sphagnum, with live sphagnum. Nothing took. So the sphagnum just dry and no roots. And even the vine is not dying. It just keep growing like if I didn't cut a big chunk of it. So I decided to do it the regular way. I chopped off the whole vine and tried to root it in sphagnum moss. And most of them worked. So for me, the pros and cons, the just water, it's good as long as you change the water every weeks, just in order to prevent all the algae to grow too much and potentially damage the rooting. Second is the Ziplock bag. Again, a very effective way. You will still need to manage a little bit of the water to make sure there is no algae growing. Never put this Ziplock bag in full sun. It will just cook the plant inside. That's the big cons. You need an ideally really bright room or an artificial light. And finally, the pure sphagnum. There is a pros and cons. It's slower, probably because there is not a lot of humidity in the house. If I was inside a greenhouse, it would be better. The big pro for me is if you put the cuttings inside an individual pot, then you don't have to repot them. They are already potted and rooted in the good substrate. Perfect. If you are not ready to cut your Nepenthes, but you want to repot it, here is a video for you. And thanks for those who support the channel, I really appreciate. Until next time, happy growing!